sports flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
I think that's one of the things we hit it off with Glenn and Becky was our alignment around Minnesota, how bullish we are in this market. It's an incredible market with great people. There's so much value to unlock here with corporate America, the companies that are embedded in this community. And Minnesota was one of the reasons, and we have no plans to move this. We plan to be right here and do really, really exciting things and bring a world championship to the city.
Love it, dude. Injected into my veins just like A-Rod injected steroids into his for 20 years, baby. Give me all that Wolves positivity. This is Mackie and Judd injecting daily Minnesota sports entertainment into your veins out there. We're going to do a deep dive into Karl Anthony Towns. Let's just call them transparent comments a little bit later in this episode. But are you guys ready for some who gets it and who doesn't?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
Let's get it.
Bring it.
Every Tuesday, who gets it, who doesn't, here on Mackie and Judd. And I want to start with the man and the man sitting next to him that you heard from yesterday at their introductory. No. Talked about him plenty yesterday. Some people are like, okay, all right, we get it. You don't like Glenn Taylor. Stop beating a dead horse. No. Not on I won't do it on this episode, but no. I'm not going to promise to stop beating the dead horse that is the worst owner in professional sports in North America. But who gets it, who doesn't? You know who gets it? Alex Rodriguez and Marc Lore. Alex Rodriguez came in here with zero regard for his public perception for 20 years. His lying, his cheating, him going on WFAN about 10 years ago and pointing into the camera and pointing at Mike Francesa and saying, red-faced, I never took steroids, this is a smear campaign, like he lied for 20 years. And I believe he said exactly this. Honesty and transparency are very important to us as the new owners of the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I love that he has just plowed through public perception to sit on that stage and be like, we love Minnesota. This is great. We're never going to move this team. There's a lot of value to unlock here in the state of Minnesota. I love it. He's just, you know what? He's just Teflon, baby. And I want the new Wolves owner to be Teflon and to be confident and to have direction. Marc Lore, I think, provides more of the direction here. And I know you and Patrick Royce mock his core values talk. I love it. This is modern Royce 2021 business structure, baby.
Be fair, I didn't mock that.
You snickered. Roll the tape.
Well, yeah, because
we don't have the tape. But
tape. I got scared.
Because it's Royce saying things. I snicker a lot, but I did not mock. I don't know enough.
Don't you laugh at core values, okay? You got to start somewhere.
A-Rod, I think I mean, if you thought Norm Green was bad, he ain't nothing compared to what A-Rod might do.
But I will say, just however weird it is that Alex Rodriguez is sitting up here as one of the new minority owners of the Timberwolves, Marc Lore is the real guy here. Like Marc Lore is the guy with the vision. Marc Lore is the guy, I think, with even more connections. Whether it pans out or not remains to be seen. You know what? And I know that it's going to be hard to twist everyone's arms in the state of Minnesota to pay for a new arena, but they do need a new arena. You got to win some games before you ask the public for like hundreds of millions of dollars in tax money.
Oh, yeah, they do.
But they definitely need a new arena. And so I will remove my tongue from my cheek when I say this. I'm here for it. I love that these guys are here. A-Rod's flaws and all. And I'm excited for what the next, let's say, 2 to 5 years is going to bring for Timberwolves basketball in the A-Rod and Marc Lore era.
Just quickly, can I tell you where I officially stand? A-Rod, I have passed judgment on. I don't trust. I don't like. Lore, I don't know yet. Like, I'm seriously, we just don't know enough. So, but on anything that Alex Rodriguez says to me, you can't take that to the bank. You probably should run away from the bank. So.
Yeah, it's weird because it's like we've been sitting here for years saying anyone but Glenn, please just bring in anyone but Glenn, and it's like, okay, here's Alex Rodriguez.
Yeah,
and we're like, oh man, okay, all right. If it was just Alex Rodriguez, I think I would be a little more panicked here. But I don't know. I genuinely believe that Marc Lore is going to come in here, and I don't know about world championships quite yet. I need to see a a play-in appearance before I start talking about world championships. But Alex threw out the phrase world championships. Listen, if San Antonio can be a big basketball market, if Milwaukee just won a freaking championship.
Yep, and if you got the right people
raise our bar.
You can win. If you got the right people in charge, we'll find out.
Yep, so.
All right, who gets it? I'm going to remain in the world of basketball. I'm going to remain with the Timberwolves. And Declan, I would like you to fire up a quote from a young man who I'm a big fan of.
It seemed like at the start of last year, you felt like it was your responsibility to defer to Cat and D'Lo and those guys. Is that gone now?
Yeah, for sure. That probably was gone second half of the season, but it's not like they still killers. They still the best at what they do. So us three together is just, it's going to be really, really good.
Ant Edwards.
Love him. Great,
okay, Ant Edwards. And now I know, and I've always said this, we know nothing about players as people. But as a player, as a guy who we get to watch and hear quoted about his team and teammates and his own play and his work, this kid, and I've said this since day one, but it's just driven home more and more. This kid as a player gets it. I love what he brings from an enthusiasm standpoint, from a lack of baggage standpoint. He genuinely looks like he is having fun and like he likes being, hold on, wait for me to say it, a Minnesota Timberwolf. Like it's fun for him to come to work. I don't think there's BS in that. And I love to see that because this franchise so badly needs a shot, let's call it a shot of enthusiasm, of positivity. This team
an injection.
This team needs to
booster.
Be vaccinated
against a booster of enthusiasm.
Exactly right. It's a Garnett booster, Dex. I love it. It's a Garnett booster. They needed this booster for years. Ant brings that. Like it's fun to listen to him. If you're a fan, you've got to love this. He brings something that more people should bring, but they flat out just don't.
I also think we're preconditioned, rightfully so, following this team for all these years to just sort of assume worst case scenario all the time, right? It's like, well, so probably going to be like you watch Ant for the first 15 games, he's shooting like 32%. You're like, oh, probably a bust, but then you watch him in the second half and, oh, okay, interesting. And then in the offseason, dude puts on like 20 pounds of muscle. He's just cashing 40-foot three-pointers on his Instagram and TikTok. If we can sort of, unwire our Wolves thinking of everything gravitates toward cesspool and just watch what's happening in front of us, Ant Edwards is primed to take another step forward, both as a player, as a leader, as a teammate. Like, he's super fun to watch, and he was amazing in the last 20 or 25 games. And there's probably another level we're going to see unleashed in the first half of the season.
Yep.
And I'm here for it. I think Chris Finch was great for him down the stretch. And I love that he doesn't defer to D'Lo and Cat anymore. Like, he should be the focal point. He's the most talented player overall on the team. Cat's right in there, too. But I think Ant has that, like, leader of the franchise, personality, skill set, everything.
He is wired the way that you want your star player wired. That's that, because you don't get any brooding with him. You don't get any, it's the Timberwolves, it's going to be tough. You don't get, you don't get, and I think he just turned 20, the normal immaturity, right? Like, look at, he's not going to Twitter and like putting out cryptic Cam Dantzler, well, we won, but I'm not very happy tweets. Like, he doesn't do that crap, which I appreciate because a lot of guys do.
Yeah. No, he's always happy. He's always, and you know what? Another thing we're not really probably considering enough is it's been so long since we've seen a Wolves team just organically get better as a group. It's always about how can you add Ben Simmons or how can you trade for this or add this.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see them add Ben Simmons, and I'd love to see them do it without giving up any of their three best players. You probably have to give up D'Lo, or like it's probably not going to happen without giving up one of those three players. But there's a really good chance that with the addition of Patrick Beverley, and if Cat and D'Lo and Ant are all healthy and playing, that you just take a big step forward because your nucleus is together, you got some better role players, and the coach is making these guys better than maybe Ryan did early in the season last year. So I'm open to the idea of some big-time organic growth here.
Look at you getting excited.
Save this clip for old takes exposed sometime later on in the Wolves season if it all comes crumbling down.
All right, I'll stick with the basketball one on who doesn't get it. And you know who does not get it? Kevin Durant.
Oh, no.
Kevin Durant
He's the best
does
player in
not
the world.
get it.
What do you mean?
He's very good. He's very good. This was him, though, at Brooklyn Nets Media Day with a very special guest in the press row.
Dave from Basketball Digest. Kevin, KD, why do people call you KD? Can I call you KD? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
My first name is Kevin.
Right.
And my second name, my last name. My second name. My last name is Durant with a D.
KD? This year, what percentage do you plan on giving on the court? 90, 95, 100, 110? What are we looking at?
110.
110. 110. I just got off the phone with the Dolan family, and they said that they're talking to the commissioner now. They're looking at working a contractual deal that will allow you, when you're not playing for the Nets, days off, you'll be able to play for the Knicks. Comments?
All right, Dave, that was the last one.
I'm sorry, was that a comment?
That's it.
How about you? Do you have a comment? Wrap it up. Okay.
Look,
oh my
dude.
God.
Now,
Oh, my God.
he did at the end make
that
him
was
laugh.
Cringe.
He did make Durant laugh at the end. He goes, well, how about the Pelicans? Is it funny to play a team named the Pelicans? And Durant was like, all right, that is kind of funny. But, like, that was it.
Okay.
However,
does Kevin Durant not know who David Letterman is?
I think he knows who he is. I just didn't think you want to give him the time of day. I think he knows who Dave Letterman is. I do.
I don't know,
I
dude.
think he does.
I don't
He sure acted
know.
oblivious to it.
He looked. If you knew it was Dave Letterman, wouldn't you lean in a little?
I don't
you-
think so. Because Kevin Durant is a fool, and I don't think he gets it.
Wow.
Is he a fool? Like
He has
I knew-
burner
was he-
accounts. He's
Okay.
weak-minded.
He's insecure for
He's
sure.
insecure.
Yeah, I
He's
don't-
not self-aware. He's like the second greatest basketball player not named LeBron James in the last 15 years. You can make a serious case. He might be the best scorer of our
Okay.
generation also.
Could I make a case? So, well, Durant's like 31. So Durant was born in what? Now, let's look this up real quick. When was Kevin Durant born? Probably like 1990.
Yeah, he's
He's like-
88. He's 32. He's older than me.
Okay. So, here's a good litmus test. You're really familiar with Dave Letterman, right? And you
Yeah.
were born like
92.
in the early 90s, 92?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's weird that he wouldn't know who David Letterman is. I
He
could
knows
see
who
if
Dave Letterman is.
Like Anthony Edwards doesn't know who Alex Rodriguez
So-
is because A-Rod was, A-Rod was pretty much done playing by the time Ant was like consciously aware of sports. But Kevin Durant grew up during the heyday of Dave Letterman.
So I got so many questions. Did Nets PR not know that he was going to do this and crash it? And wouldn't you alert the player? Because Dave, I think had like his face covered, and he's got that huge, or partially, he had like a hat on, and he's got that huge beard now. So
Right.
like it's possible you wouldn't know exactly who that is if you're not super aware. But wouldn't your PR department like be like, oh, okay, hey,
Oh
hey,
man,
Kevin,
that
come
was
here.
uncomfortable.
Like, that was
Super uncomfortable.
That was really, really weird.
Like, just play along, for God's sakes, Kevin Durant. Just
He
for once,
does
play
have like a
along,
too
man.
cool for school. He also hates the media because he feels like he's always depicted in a bad
Well.
way. So he's
Well,
I
and
don't
he
know,
hits
man.
lots of people because was it opening night last year on TNT's post-game show that Barkley, who had ripped him previously, was asking questions, and like Durant wouldn't answer him.
Yeah.
And then they spent the rest of the show mocking Durant after he got off the interview.
Yeah, he really is one of the more like dense superstars you're gonna find. He's an amazing player, but like the guy just has no concept for how to have fun and loosen up. He's just always
Seriously.
tight and wound and upset. All right, you know who gets it? I'm going back to back. Who gets it here? And I'm gonna go over to the Minnesota Vikings. The new star right guard, my guy. I've been fighting for this guy since training camp began. Oli Udoh enters week 4 of this NFL season as one of the 13 highest graded offensive guards in pro football. And if you just take guys who played 50% of the snaps or more, he is 11th, right there with highly paid guys like Brandon Scherf. I mean, he is off to a really good start. Never played that position before. Mostly a raw prospect. And so they not only have the upgrade now, if it sticks, like if he's a fringe top 10 guard for the rest of the season, then they will have gone from an historically bad set of guards who tried that position, Drew Samia and Dakota Dozier, to not just average, but to a guy that's eventually going to be paid like a top 10 guard. I'm getting way out in front because he's played 3 games.
Yeah, you are.
But if this sticks, this is a great, great thing for the Vikings offensive line, and it's no coincidence that Kirk looked that good in the first 3 games of the season, getting actual blocking from his interior offensive line. Okay, talk me down. Go ahead, Judd.
I won't talk you down. I'll just wait and see. It's 3 games in. I mean, I'm glad he's playing well. That's fantastic. But
Ezra Cleveland, by the way, also slightly above average on these rankings this year.
Yeah, and he had, I think PFF-wise, he didn't have a good game grade-wise on Sunday. But I think he had a really good game against the Bengals or the Cardinals, so that probably brings the grade up a little bit.
Yeah, just don't be garbage. Be average, and if you can be above average,
Don't be garbage.
Don't be garbage.
There's another T-shirt. Don't suck. All right, who doesn't get it? I'm going to drive from Target Center to Huntington Bank Stadium.
Boy.
The head coach of the Gopher football program, Mr. Philip John Fleck, doesn't get it. You not only lost to Bowling Green, but I credited you a couple of years ago with having a good offensive formula and system, and you did. 2019, Tanner Morgan, really great year. Rashad Bateman was obviously a star, but he was maximized too. You did a really good job of maximizing what Rashad Bateman could do, and ultimately he was a first-round pick of the Baltimore Ravens. But what you have done offensively at this point in time, game in game, and I know that you crushed the Buffaloes 2 weeks ago, but it still makes almost no sense. And I don't get what you're doing. I don't get it. It's confusing. You needed points against Bowling Green, and you elected to, run the football as much as possible. It was a bizarre game plan, and I'm sure that Mike Sanford Jr., your offensive coordinator, gets some blame as well. But ultimately, it's PJ's baby. PJ is an offensive guy, and that was a terrible game plan. And my problem is PJ doesn't get it because this builds upon the fact that in game, whether it be the clock, whether it be timeouts or play calling now, there have been so many times where PJ appears to not get it.
How much did that loss to Bowling Green wipe away the goodwill that PJ built up in 2019? Auburn, New Year's Day, they beat undefeated Penn State at home. Like that was the most fun Gopher football season of my life.
Yeah.
Last year was whatever. Last year was like a 7-game COVID season.
It got canceled, then it wasn't canceled. I agree with you.
Yeah, so last year's almost just a pass all around, even though they were underwhelming. And then they go and they beat Colorado, and it's like kind of brings you back to 2019. And I even had them. All right, they're going to be 8-1 going into the Iowa game.
Yeah.
How much if let's say beating Auburn and then the way that you felt after that Colorado game was like peak Gophers PJ Fleck experience. What percentage of that was wiped away by the loss to Bowling Green?
A
lot of it.
A good portion.
Not all of it, but a lot of it.
It's got an opportunity, I think, as far as PJ goes. So the 2019 win at home against Penn State was, as far as PJ goes, was program defining, right? This loss has an opportunity to be program defining in the opposite way. Like, this is one of the worst losses in Gopher football history.
Mm-hmm.
Like this, because it's not a late choke where you're like, well, you lost to Wisconsin because your punter dropped the ball, which is painful. Don't get me wrong. But if you go through the point spreads in Gopher football history, this has to be top 3 of upsets that have happened to you. So this could be equally as program defining as Penn State if you don't handle it right.
Yeah, he's and the way, I don't know, like the way that he owns the losses, and that's good. But nothing. It's like, things don't change. And Tanner Morgan, I get that you're throwing to Rashad Bateman in 2019, but the regression from Tanner Morgan from sophomore year to senior year, he was legitimately one of the top 6 or 7 quarterbacks in the country in college football in 2019 with help from a great wide receiver. Through 4 non-conference games, He's throwing 53% completions. He's averaging 7 yards per attempt, which is way off from 2 years ago. And he's got 3 touchdown passes. Now, they are running the ball a lot more, but why don't they trust their senior quarterback more? Like, is there nobody else behind him at this point? If he's this much of a training wheels guy as a senior, you got to put somebody else in the game.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I said I would bench him. Like, if you trust him to throw 13 passes against Bowling Green and that's it, then he shouldn't play.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Declan, who gets it, who doesn't?
I'm going to skate across the pond to the Minnesota Wild. So yesterday, the Minnesota Wild announced a couple, actually it was over the weekend technically, but they announced a couple new alternate captains. We have officially turned the page on the Mikko Koivu, Zach Parise, Ryan Suter era. And now, alternate captains behind Jared Spurgeon for this season are Marcus Foligno and Matt Dumba. Now, I feel like Marcus Foligno has been an IFDO de facto captain for the Wild for like the last 3 seasons, it seems. He's just been the voice in that locker room. When we were allowed to go in that locker room, he was the one who would stand in front of there and give you the best answer possible and wouldn't hold back anything. He was an IFDO de facto leader. We've had Bill Guerin, friend of the show, on before with Judd and myself. He's always complimented him. He deserves an alternate captain. Matt Dumba also kind of growing up a little bit more and being a leader too on and off the ice in the NHL. It's just refreshing that we're finally turning the page from the Parise, Suter, Koivu era. And I know Koivu's been gone now for about a year and a half, and Spurgeon's been the captain since last season. But I think Marcus Foligno talking in the locker room, and they posted this on wild.com, that he wants this locker room and everyone to be an open space and have people to be able to come up here with good ideas and be able to voice things. Yeah, kind of interesting that he was able to say those things, because I feel like in past regimes, it wasn't the case. Zach Parise and Ryan Suter were a very integral part of the Wild franchise history, and they played some big-time moments and roles, but it's time to turn that page and just say, hey, that was an era. It's now over. It's time for the new era, and Marcus Foligno and Matt Dumba, the Minnesota Wild, finally get it that it's time to turn the page.
I still feel like it hasn't been fully fleshed out, the amount of money that the Wild are choosing to eat for Ryan Suter. Like, Ryan Suter is not cooked. You can make a case Zach Parise is just, all right, probably not a guy you're going to run out there as a top 6 forward anymore. Ryan Suter is still a really good defenseman and probably has a few more years left to play, and they decided it's worth swallowing dead money to just get him out of the room and out of the franchise. And I don't know that that's been fully fleshed out.
When you got that pair of chairs that you paid a lot for, and you're like, well, this chair, the dog sat on the chair and now it's in really bad shape. But the matching chair, well, the dog didn't sit on that chair. It's still in decent shape.
Never had this issue in my life before.
But then you say to yourself, how can I keep one chair and not the other? They were both expensive matching chairs, right?
They make up the whole living room. We get rid of one chair, the other one doesn't fit
anymore. Got to get rid of the other one. So we're going to have to call Goodwill, and we're going to have them take both chairs. We might as well have them both take both chairs at the same time. That's what you got here.
Does Goodwill pick up, or do you have to bring it to Goodwill?
I don't know.
I feel like you got
to call Arch or Arca or something like that. I don't know. Somebody that picks up. There's
one of the strangest metaphors I've ever heard in my life.
There's a bunch of folks that pick up.
I want to tell you, who doesn't?
Call the Dallas Stars.
You know who doesn't get it? I'm not going to name the company, but a company that comes and will sometimes pick up things from your home. I don't want to name the company, but like, they'll drive a truck around and you can schedule a pickup. If you want to donate something, they'll come and pick stuff up.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I had a couch a couple years ago. It was like an IKEA couch. It's probably 3 or 4 years old, and it wasn't going to make it to the new place we were moving to. And so, like, the couch was in pretty phenomenal shape, quite frankly. We cleaned it off and stuff. Grabbed some of the loose change from the cushions. At some point, we had spilled some water, and so on one of the backside of one of the cushions, there was a little bit of like a watermark stain, but nothing that would prevent you from like donating this couch to someone. They show up with the truck. The guy comes in, checks it out, and he goes, that water stain. Not going to be able to take this. And I was like, what? What do you mean? He's like, yeah, it's against our policy. We can't take this if there's any sort of like water damage. I'm like, well, it's not like water damage. It's like the back of the cushion has a little bit of a watermark. I said, there's probably a family that would very much still love to sit on this couch. And he's like, sorry, can't take it. I'm like, are you serious?
What?
You're going to prevent a family in need. And I'm laughing as I say this, but like, Do better, unnamed company that drives a red truck around. Maybe lower your bar a little bit so people can get furniture. That's all I'm saying. All right.
Yeah, you got to give that couch a tryout somewhere, right?
100%.
Like someone's got to pick the couch up on a
So then-
1-year deal, minimum salary, and give it a chance.
And by the way, and some of this is my fault because like we had to be out the next day.
Oh.
And so I scheduled this
Oh, boy.
pickup for like the second to last day, and like all of a sudden they said no, and we got this couch sitting here, right? So I wind up calling 1-800-GOT-JUNK, I think, or something. Like I tried 3 or 4 different avenues. I couldn't sell it online or whatever. So I wind up paying like $200 to get rid of this couch.
Ugh.
That's what the Wild are doing.
Yes, you're right. You were hit with a very high salary cap
They called
penalty
1-800-GOT-JUNK,
because
and they're like, all right.
Yep, because you had to get rid of suits.
Wow.
Your Ryan Suter couch just didn't work anymore.
Yeah.
All right, to me.
Got one more? One more?
Oh yeah, I sure
Okay,
do.
we'll get
Who
to the
gets
cat
it?
discussion.
I'm going to give a who gets it, and I feel like we talk about this each week, but it's in a different way. Who gets it? Eli Manning, the breakout star of the fall
double birds
television
last night.
season. The breakout. Let me be very clear. I'm not saying football, so I'm not saying a football broadcaster. Eli Manning is the breakout star of the fall television season across the board. From flipping the double birds last night, to give an example of what a 9-year-old kid in Philadelphia did to him at a Giants-Eagles game, to constantly poking fun at Peyton, which is hilarious because I think Peyton tries to play along, but it sort of irks him. But his brother does not care. Eli Manning totally gets it. There's really nothing Peyton's done that shocked me. Like, I like him, but like there's nothing where I'm like, I didn't know he had that side to him.
Yeah.
Eli shocks me every week in a good way. I had no idea he had this.
He is hilarious. He's low key, and then sometimes he'll just sit there. You can tell Peyton gets frustrated because Peyton will go through some diatribe or do like a film thing, and then Eli will just be sitting there with Eli face.
But he likes doing it, and he brought his dad on
And then-
yesterday. Archie came on. He was showing him how to send like a text.
Is Eli living in Archie's basement?
No,
Wouldn't surprised me.
No, the Giants retired his number on Sunday, and so Eli's mom and dad were there. I guess the shows are done from Eli's house in New Jersey, and Peyton goes to a memorabilia warehouse in Denver.
Oh, so okay, interesting.
So Peyton's not home. Eli
Okay.
is,
Interesting.
which is fitting.
That's kind of fun. So Peyton lives in Denver still?
Yes, I guess he does.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah, Eli's great. And now we have to wait till week 7. They're going to take like a month off.
I know,
We
it
have to
sort of
wait until
sucks.
week 7. It's too bad.
So funny though.
All due respect to Brian Greasy, but
He flipped the double birds and had to apologize. They come back on. He's like, "I'm sorry, I was just showing what." And the great thing was, he was totally like not flummoxed. He just apologized. He's like,
wasn't sorry or anything.
No,
Yeah.
he's just like, "I was just showing you what a 9-year-old kid did to me in Philadelphia."
Sorry if you were offended. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, sorry. if
Amazing.
you were offended.
You know who else gets it? Federated Mutual Insurance Company. They get it when it comes to risk management and bottom line protection. That's what they provide business owners. So, if something, an injury or an accident, all the things that could be risks to your companies, they could be costly risks if you don't have the right insurance and help. And that's where Federated comes in. Federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours.